Hello and welcome again to my tutorial. This is the 8th video on this tutorial series where we're building a full stack web application using Python and Django for the backend and using React.js for the front end. So we're building an employee management system, and in our last lectures I showed you how you can build your APIs. So we build API with Django REST Framework and Python, and then we'll use our React front end to interact with the database. So in our last lectures, we created our API for our skill ViewSets, and then today we're gonna create URLs for all the APIs that we've created so that we can test the API, and then if there is any errors, we are going to fix it. So the first thing you need to do is this ViewSets, just change this. This is supposed to be capital letter S, ViewSets. And then I hope every other thing is correct. Okay. So now I'm gonna save my changes, and then we'll create URLs for these skill ViewSets so that we can test the API. We'll also create URL for our department ViewSets and also our employee ViewSets. So before creating our ViewSets, our urls.py, let's go to our serializer, and then on this skill serializer, so here I'm saying we are using all the fields, but another way to do it is to do it like this: fields equals parenthesis underscore underscore all underscore underscore. Yeah, so instead of listing out all your fields one after the other, you can just do it this way. So I'm going to comment out this, and then I will save my changes. So now we will create URLs for our skill ViewSet so we can test it out. So just go to your urls.py under your API folder, go to this url.py, and then this is the default URL that we have. So the first thing you want to do is to import views. So I'm gonna say from dot import views. I'm using dots because views and urls.py, they are inside the same API folder. And then the next thing you want to do is to import default router. So you say from REST underscore framework import default routers. Default router. Okay, from REST underscore framework dot routers import default router. Yeah, this is correct. Default router, this is it. Now come to the next line, and then you say router equals default router. And then just above here, you say router.register. Router.register, you open parentheses, and then you open a quotes. I'm just gonna call my router a name, so I'll call it skill underscore API. And then you put a comma, you say views dot skill ViewSets. Now this skill ViewSets is these views that we created for our skills. So this is it. Yeah, this is it. Skill ViewSets. So I'll go back to my urls.py. So router.register skill API, you can call this whatever you want, and then it's using views.skill ViewSets. Then I'll give it a base name. So I will say base name equals, you call it whatever you like as well. So I'm just gonna call it skill API again. Yeah, now the next thing you want to do is to include a path here. So I will say paths, open parenthesis. So I'm just gonna call it API. So when you go to the URL, you put /API, it should open the API, all our API lists. That's what I'm trying to do. So put a / and then comma, and then you say include parenthesis router.urls. So we're saying when you go to API and /, it should include all the URLs in this router. And in our router, this is the first URL that we've defined. So we're gonna define a router URL for our employee records and also our department's record as well. So I'm just gonna explain this again. We're using a default router, and then here we said router.register skill API. You can call this whatever you want, but the skill, so this, you can call it whatever you want, but you now point it to the view set that you want to use, which is skill view set, and then the base name is whatever you want to call it as well. Now the next thing you do is, this is, you can call yours whatever you want, but I named mine API, and then you say include router.urls. So whatever your URL is, for example, if you've hosted your web application and then your URL is www.employeeapp.com, it means when you put a / and API, it should redirect you to this URL that you've created for your skill view set. So we'll test it out now, and then you're gonna understand it better. So go to file and click on save all, and then open your terminal. If it's already open, you simply type python manage.py run server and press enter. It should run if there is no error, but if there is any error, we will fix it. So we've got a couple of issues here. It's saying class emp ViewSet, so this is wrong. This is supposed to be capital letter S. So I'll go back to my views.py, and then this is correct, and I'm just gonna check this. This is supposed to be capital letter S, and then this as well, capital letter S. So I will simply save everything and then try it again. File, save all. So it's reloading, but I can just stop the time. Okay, it has reloaded. So I'll go to this URL now. So you just copy this URL. This, you can click and follow the link, or you simply copy it and then paste it on your web browser. Press enter. So this is the home page with this static write-up. Welcome to our home page. Now let's access our API routes. Now I'll go back to my code, go back to this URL, and you can see here, in here I said your URLs and API. So to access our skill view sets API URL, you just need to put a /. So I'll go back to my web browser, and then I'll put a / here and type API this and press enter. So this is it. This is my API route, and then look at it. You can see skill API. I'll go back to my code. This is it, skill API. So in my default router, we have just one API now. And so, yeah, if I click on it, it takes me to the page. So this is the first skill that we have. These are just dummy data. And this is a browsable API. That's why we are able to view it. So number one, the ID is 1. We have the name of the skill is science. Description is the science. I just put dummy data. So yeah, so this is our API. And then in here now, you can with this method that we've created, if I go back to my views.py, you can see we have a method for lists which displays all the records. As you can see here, it displays all the records. And then we have creates. So with one class, we are able to list all our records. We are able to create. In here, you can simply use this browsable API interface to create a new department. So I'm gonna call this logistics, or I'll call it accounts. Description, the accounts, and then departments. Oh no, okay, this is for skill, so account is not a skill. So I'm gonna say Java. And then department is needed by the IT department. No, description, Java development with swing. Then the department that this skill is required is IT. So I'll just select it and then I click on post. So yeah, so it has saved the record on our database. Now, if I go back to refresh my API list, you will see it didn't show everything. I'm just gonna, let me see. So let's check why it's not displaying all the records, whether it's just fetching 2 records. So I'll go back to my code, and then in here on my skill view sets, this is supposed to be Z serializer, and then I'm just gonna copy this, put it in here, serializer.data. Yeah, so I'll go to file and save all, and then I'm gonna refresh my page. So I need to restart my server. I'll go back here, and then I'm just gonna kill this, Control C, and Python manage.py, run server. I'll run it on ports 8086. So now I'll copy this URL, paste it on my web browser, and then /API. So let's see, and I click on this. Here you go, it's displaying all our skills now. So I'm just gonna correct the errors on the other view set that we've created. So this is supposed to be serializer for our department view sets, and this also is gonna be serializer Z, not S. I'll go to my EMP view sets, employer view sets. I'll put this as Z as well, and then this Z as well. I'm gonna save all. Yeah, I'll go back to my web browser now. So now this is the record that we created. We created this Java using this interface on our browsable API, and then when we come to this URL, it lists all the skill sets in our database. Now if you want to delete now this method, let's go back. So we've seen how this works. It lists all the data from our database. We've used it to create the Java skill. Then now let's try for updates. So I'll go back to my web browser. Now to access any of this skill, any of this item, use their ID. So come to this place, your address bar, and then / number 3. So this is for the ID is 3. Press enter. Yeah, so this is it. Oh, it's saying not allowed, so I guess there's an issue. I'm gonna check it out. So I'll come back to my code now, and then we need to change this to Z, and yeah, serializer, and then you have to change this to Z as well, Z, and this Z as well, and Z as well. And let me return this. So return response parenthesis serializer dot data. Yeah, so just check your code, and wherever you have S for your serializer, change it to Z. I think that was a nasty mistake. So I'm just gonna change everything to Z. Yeah. So yes, I've changed everything to serializer, not S but Z, and then I'm gonna save everything again and test it out again. So I'll kill my server now. I'm gonna stop the server. Just press Ctrl C, and then you can type python manage.py run server 8086. Now simply refresh the page, and then yeah, if you want to edit any of this record now, come to your address bar, put the ID of the record you want to edit. So I'm just gonna put 4, enter. Yeah, so it's gonna bring it out. Now I can edit here, edited, and edited as well, and then you click on put. So yeah, so it has edited it. If you want to delete it as well, you simply click on delete. So yeah, so with one ViewSets, we have performed lists, we've performed creates, we've performed retrieve, and also updates. Now yeah, updates and also destroy. Now what we have to do the same thing for our department ViewSets, and also the last one, which is AMP ViewSets. Now because we've made some couple of changes to this, let's just copy this skills ViewSets. Let's just copy it, and then we have to replicate it here so that we don't start making correction and waste more time. So I'm just gonna paste it. Now skill ViewSet, we have to change it to what? Let's look at our model. So we have let's do for department. So I'm just gonna call it departments. Go back to my views.py. So yeah, this is it. So I'll call it department ViewSets. Department ViewSet. Now query set equals skills. It's not gonna be skills again, so this is gonna be department because we are doing the same thing for department. And then serializer underscore class equals skill serializer. No, it's not gonna be skill serializer. So we'll go to our serializer.py and check the serializer we created for departments. So it's gonna be this department serializer. So I'll go back to my views. Serializer underscore class equals department serial. Copy it well. Department serializer. Views.py. Department serializer. Now define list, query set equals self.query set. Everything is gonna be the same thing. Create, yeah, the same thing. Retrieve, the same thing. Updates, the same thing. And destroy, the same thing as well. So I'll just replicate. Okay, let's test this one first. So the next thing you have to do is to go to your views urls.py and create a URL for department view set as well. So I'll copy this and then I'll go to my url.py and then yeah, okay, you don't need to create a URL because yeah, you need to create a router for it. So now come to this point. I'm just gonna paste that view sets and then I'll copy this, Control C, Control V, and then router.register skill API changes to departments or whatever you want to call it, department API, and then ViewSet is gonna be views.department ViewSets, and base name is gonna be departments, whatever you want, it doesn't matter. So yeah, now I'm gonna click on file and save all. I would let me end this, Control C, Control C. I want to stop my server, then I start my server again, Python manage.py, run server, press enter. Now my server is up and running, so I'm just gonna go copy this URL, go to my web browser, and then I will paste it here. Remember, in our code, if you come to this url.py, you will see once you open this API route, it will give you a list of all our URLs in our router. Now I'll go to my web browser and then /API and enter. Yeah, so this is it. So this is the first one we created for our skill API, and then this is the second one for our department API. So click on this one, and then okay, we have an issue, so I'm gonna check it out now. So it's saying the field modified that was included on serializer, department serializer in the exclude option, but does not match any of the model field. So I'll go to my code and my serializer.py. So this is it, department serializer. So I have created that and modified that. Now I'll go to my models.py and then I'll check. So I have created that and updated that, not modified that. So I'll copy this, updated that, go back to my serializer.py and then change this to updated that, and then file, click on save all. So I'll go back to my web browser and refresh it. So this is it. This is all the department that we have, you know, IT department, logistics, and then if you also want to create a new department in here, you can definitely do that. So I'm gonna do it quickly. So I'll call this accounts, and then department code, whatever I want, description, the accounts, and then department head, I'll select one, Kennedy, and click on post. So it says department with this department head already exists. So I guess we made our database to accept just one department head for a department. So I will try with Evans. If it doesn't work, I'm gonna create a new department head, post. Yeah, so this worked. So this worked now. Now I'll go back to my API routes and then click on departments. So my changes didn't take effect, so what I'm just gonna do, I'm gonna hot refresh it by pressing Ctrl and F5, and then yeah, these are all my departments. So we've done that. If you want to delete any department, come to this browser as well and type in the ID of the department you want to delete. Yeah, and then yeah, you can update it or you can delete it as well. So if you type anything here, just press on put. So let's do it for the last one, which is our employee record. So just like we did with this, because we've made a couple of changes, simply copy this and then yeah, replace this AMP ViewSets. AMP ViewSet, I'm just gonna replace it. Okay, so I have to change this EMP ViewSets, replace this, Ctrl Z, Ctrl C, and Ctrl V, and then I will delete this. It's not needed. Now, query set equals department.object.all. No, it's not gonna be department again. Rather, I'll go to my model, and this is the model we created for our employee. So it's gonna be employee details. Copy this, go back to the views.py and then paste this. So query set equals employee details.object.all. You should select everything from this employee details table, and then serializer underscore class is gonna be, I'll go to my serializer.py, and yeah, this is it. It's employee details serializer. Go back to my view and this, yeah. Now define list query set equals self.query set serializer. So everything is gonna be the same thing. Yeah. So we have to create our URL as well for this EMP ViewSets. So I'll go to my urls.py, and then I'm just gonna paste this first. I'll copy everything here just to be faster. So this is gonna be views dots EMP ViewSets and then I'll change the name of this EMP underscore API, and then the base name, I'll still call it the same thing. The base name can be different anyway. Yeah. So when you go to this API routes, you will see these three URLs. Now I'll click on File, Save All. My server is still running, and so I'm just gonna go here. I'll go to my API routes, refresh my page. Yeah, so now I have my EMP API. I'll click on it. When I click on it, this is it. It gives me the list of all the employees in the organizational database. Yeah. So just like we did with the other two, if you want to access any of the employee record, maybe you want to delete or you want to modify, simply come to this place, the URLs, and then put the ID of the employee record you want to modify. Press enter. So it has retrieved employee with ID 1, and then you can modify the changes here and click on put, or you can also delete the record. So yeah, so we've used one method, one class, to create our API, and it takes care of lists to display all the records on the API, creates, retrieve, updates, and destroy as well. So what we need to do now, I'll just need to show you how to include permissions in your API. So this is gonna be a basic permission as we keep building the application, and then when we're doing our front end, we're gonna use more advanced and robust permissions. So now you go to the top and then you type from REST underscore framework import permissions. So we are including permissions because this is gonna be a public API, and then we don't want anyone to just access our API and then start viewing records and deleting, modifying, and all the rest. So for someone to view our record, view our API, deletes or updates, the person should have the necessary permissions. So if permission is not provided, you can't view the records even if you have the URL. So the first thing you need to do is you import this from REST underscore framework import permission. So permission is different from authorization. So for example, you may have the permission to view our API, but for example, if you want to modify a department table, if you are not the department head, you will not be authorized. So it's two different ball games. Permission and authorization, they are different, and I'm gonna show you how to do it. So for this permission, we just have to implement basic permission to make sure that the user that wants to view the record is authenticated. Otherwise, don't display the information. Or sometimes you can do it in a way that if the user is not authenticated, it should just be read only. So the first thing you need to do is you import this from REST underscore framework imports permission, and then you now put your permission classes in each of these view sets. Now say permission underscore classes equals, you open square brackets, type permissions dots is authenticated. Now just copy this to make everything faster and go to the next class. The next class is department ViewSets. You do the same thing, permission underscore classes permissions dot is authenticated. So if you are not authenticated, you're not gonna have access to these APIs. And then the last one as well, and then you need to file and click on save all. So we have to test it out now. Now save all. Once you click on save all, go back to your web browser, and then I'm just gonna refresh my API routes, and then if I click on this, it's saying authentication credentials were not provided. So this is how to include basic authentication to your API. Now let me log in. I'm just gonna log in. I'll go to admin panel and then I'll log in. So once I am logged in now, if I go back to my API now, because I'm logged in, I will have access. So if I click on it, so you see I have access now, and then it's showing my username here ever. But I'm just gonna log out again because it's not everyone that is gonna have access to the admin panel. So I'll teach you how to include a URL for login on Django REST Framework. So now what you have to do, simply go to your code, and then I'm gonna collapse this. I'm gonna collapse this as well. So on your root folder, this is my root folder, employee record, click to expand it, go to urls.py, and then in here just include this path. You include paths, API roots, include rest underscore framework.url. So with this, you will see a temporary URL that you can use to log into this application. So I'm just gonna File and click on Save. Then I will test it out now. So all URLs should end with a comma. So I'm gonna put this and File and click on Save. Then I'm just going back to my web browser and I will visit my API directory now. You see it has login URL now. So if I click on it, I can put my username and then click on login. So once I'm logged in, I'm authenticated and I can view the API record now. Now if I click on this, I'm gonna see the record. So this is how to include permission. And the last thing I want to show you for today is how to work with multiple databases on your Django application. As you know, we are using db.sqlite 3 for our database, but if you want to use Postgres or MySQL, you have to do some configuration on your settings.py. So the first thing you need to do is to go to your settings.py on your projects root folder, which is my employee record. Go to settings.py and then scroll down. You will see the database configuration area. This is it. So by default it's using this, my SQL Lite, and so I'm gonna show you how to configure it for no, this is using SQLite 3, but I'm gonna show you how to configure it for my SQL and also Postgres. Now, to configure this application to work with Postgres, you just need to do these settings. This is it, this setting. So this is a setting, and instead of this this configuration for my SQLite 3, I can just comment this out. So engine is gonna be django.db.backend.postgresql, no longer django.db.backend.sqlite 3. Now the name is BrightMindDB. So this is the name of the database I am using for my Postgres. So I have created this database on Postgres called BrightMindDB. And then the user is gonna be Postgres. Postgres user is always Postgres unless if you change it. And then this is the password I'm using for the database, and this is the host. So if you want to configure your application to work with Postgres, simply create a database on pgadmin and then put the name of your database here and then put your password here. This is the only two parameters that are going to be different. Every other thing remains the same. Now to configure your database to work with MySQL, this is the configuration that you need to do. So this time around is gonna be django.db.backend.mysql. So the difference is just PostgreSQL and MySQL. And then the name is this. You must have created this database on your SQL server, or if you're using XAMPP, or you're using WAMP, or you're using Workbench. So you must have created the database here, and then this is the username. You input a password, and then the host is localhost. Port is optional. So from the next lectures, I'm gonna show you how to download Postgres, Postgres and pgadmin. Show you how to create databases there, and also show you how to download, my SQL Workbench, and also how to create your database in there. And we're just gonna do this, live. Now I'm gonna take off this, and you can also work with multiple databases on the same project. So I'm just gonna take off this, and I will uncomment this. And don't forget, once you configure a different database on your Django application, you need to run your Python manage.py make migrations and Python manage.py migrate again. Now, the last thing I want to show you for today is if the video quality is very poor, like some people are complaining, it's not for me, it could be from your network provider. So what you need to do is come to this settings tab, just open up the video, come to this settings tab and click on quality and then change it to 1080p HD, the highest quality, or if you don't have 1080p HD, you can change it to 720p and the quality is gonna be better. So I'm gonna end these lectures here for today, and my next lectures, I think for some time now we've been working on this employee record management system with Python, Django, and React.js. So my next lecture is gonna be, on this tutorial, Python and Django build a web application that has the functionalities of Airbnb, Booking.com, and Uber. So for this, we're using Python and Django for the backend. Then we're using HTML, CSS, JavaScript, which include Vanilla.js and jQuery, and also a CSS library, which is called Bootstrap, to build this web application. While for this, we're using React.js, Python and Django REST Framework to build it. So I'll see you again. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel so that once I post a new video, you're gonna receive a notification. Thank you very much and see you again in the coming days. Bye bye.